Watch this. The cyber cafe smells like generator fuel and someone else's deadline. 7 plastic chairs, 6 occupied. You are the 7th. The monitor in front of you has a crack running from the top left corner down toward the center, shaped like something you will not recognize until later. The jam portal loads slowly, the way bad news always loads slowly, like the server knows what it is delivering and is taking its time. The number appears, 178. You read it 4 times, not because you misread it, because reading it again is the last thing standing between you and having to accept it. The cutoff for statistics at the institute is 200. The distance between where you are and where you need to be is 22 points. In probability terms, the likelihood of admission is not low. It is 0. You are not a rounding error. You are an outlier, the wrong kind. You close the tab, you open it again. The number does not change. Numbers never change because you want them to. That is the first thing statistics teaches you. The data does not negotiate. You pay for your time. 40 naira. You count out the coins without looking at them. You always count. The attendant does not look at you either. Nobody in this room is looking at anybody. That is the mercy of cyber cafes. Everyone is too buried in their own screen to witness yours. You walk outside. The afternoon heat hits you the way reality hits you when you have been sitting with a number that does not work, all at once, without preparation. You do not go home. You walk for 11 minutes. You count your steps. The counting is not a habit, it is a system. When everything outside you is wrong, the only reliable variable is the one you are generating yourself. 1, 2, 3. The city moves around you. Generators, traffic, someone selling pure water from a wheelbarrow, a man on a phone speaking too loudly about someone else's problem. Normal coordinates, normal data. You are the anomaly in this data set, and nobody around you has the instruments to detect it. You tell your mother a different number, not a lie, a variance. You say the results were unclear. You say the portal had issues. You say you will check again tomorrow. She looks at you for 4 seconds longer than she normally looks at people. Your mother has always been able to read variables that have no visible expression. It is not intuition. It feels more like access, like she has a read permission on a file you thought was private. She says, okay, she goes back to the kitchen. The sound of her cooking does not change. The rhythm of it, the same oil in the same pan at the same temperature. That sameness is the worst part. The world continuing its process while yours has halted. Your father asks one question, just one. Did you pass? You say the portal had issues. He nods. He returns to the television. Nobody in this room is transmitting the true variable. The silence between you is not absence. It is encrypted data. Everyone can feel the weight of it. Nobody has the key. That night you lie on your bed and run regression after regression. If the score is 178 and the cutoff is 200, what combination of factors produces a different outcome? You run it 11 times. The answer is the same each time. The only path forward is a receipt. 6 months. Another fee your parents cannot comfortably afford. You count the cracks in the ceiling. 7. You count them again. 7. You count your heartbeats until they reach 133. Then you stop and start again. At 3:47 a.m., you are still awake, still counting. The house is completely quiet. Your parents are asleep. The generator off. The kind of silence that makes your own breathing sound loud. Your phone screen lights up without a notification sound. Just light. An email. The sender address is a string of characters that resolves to nothing when you look later. The subject line is 3 characters, delta plus 3. You stare at it for 11 seconds, then you open it. No greeting, no signature, no name attached to the sender address that does not exist on any domain you can find. Just one paragraph. Candidate 178-outlier. Your regression score falls outside standard admission bandwidth. However, your probability density function has been reviewed by the selection committee. A variance allowance of 3 additional points has been applied to your profile. Your adjusted score is 181. This falls within the waiver threshold for conditional admission to the Institute, Department of Statistics. Report to the admissions office by 800 hours on the date specified in the attached document. Bring this email. Do not print it. Show them the screen. You read it 4 times. You count the words in the second sentence. 32. Always 32. 3 points. Not 22. 3. Your score is 181. Still below the stated cutoff of 200. But the email says waiver threshold, a different category, a different door. You try to find the sender domain. Nothing resolves. You try to find any record of a selection committee in the Institute's official communications. Nothing. You try to find anyone online who received a similar email. Nothing. You open the attachment. You read the date. You close your phone. You go to sleep. Because nobody questions a miracle. That is what makes miracles dangerous. They arrive at 3:47 a.m. from addresses that do not exist, and they offer you exactly what you need, and the terror of losing what they offer is always louder than any question you might think to ask. The selection had found you. You did not know yet that being found and being saved are 2 entirely different processes. The admissions office at the Institute is the coldest room you have ever been in. Not air conditioning. The room is not air conditioned. Something else. The specific temperature of a space that has processed a very large number of people and has learned not to remember any of them. 11 people ahead of you in the queue. The floor is terrazzo. The walls are painted a green that was once a specific color and is now the color of institutional time. The fluorescent light above flickers every 47 seconds. You count the interval 3 times to confirm it. The registrar does not look up when you reach the desk. She is typing. The sound of her typing is precise, not words. Something more structured, like data entry rather than correspondence. When she looks up, her eyes are open in a way that registers are slightly wrong before you can identify why. Not wide, just open. The specific openness of someone who does not blink at the frequency that people normally blink. You show her the email. She reads it. She types. She reads again. She types again. Then she slides a document across the desk without looking at it. Sign at the bottom. You read the document. Standard admission language. Standard clauses. You read quickly because there are 11 people behind you and the registrar is waiting, and the document is 4 pages long. At the bottom of the 4th page, in a font approximately 2 sizes smaller than everything above it, there is one additional clause. By signing this document, the candidate acknowledges that admission under variance allowance constitutes participation in an ongoing longitudinal study. Data collection is passive and continuous. The candidate's signature functions as consent. You look up. You say, what longitudinal study? She is already looking at the next person in the queue. Standard language. Everyone signs it. You look at the clause again. You look at the pen in your hand. You look at the queue behind you. You think about your parents. You think about the email at 3:47 a.m. You think about 6 more months of ceiling cracks and counting. You sign. Of course you sign. You are always going to sign. Whatever selected, you knew you were going to sign. Your signature was not agreement. It was confirmation. The kind that notices the small font, but signs anyway. The kind that counts ceiling cracks, but still walks through doors that open from the wrong side. The registrar's stamp comes down on the document. Hard. Final. The sound of it sits in the room 1 beat longer than it should. The road to the institute takes 4 hours. You count the towns the bus passes through. 11. The bus is a Hiace with a cracked windscreen and a driver who overtakes on corners with the specific confidence of someone who has calculated the probability of collision and found it acceptable. You sit by the window, your bag on your lap, the signed document inside it, the clause in the small font. You have not allowed yourself to think about the clause since you signed it. There is a difference between not thinking and not knowing. The town around the institute appears gradually, not like a city that announces itself, like a system initializing. Buildings first, then people, then the specific atmosphere of a place that has been processing a particular kind of human traffic for long enough that the traffic has left a residue in the air. Sector 0, that is what older students call the area around the institute. You do not know yet why. You will. The gate. You see it happen before you understand what you are seeing. A motorcycle moving too fast through the pedestrian flow near the main entrance. 2 men, 1 driving, 1 reaching. A student ahead of you, phone in hand. The reaching man takes it, not snatches, takes. The distinction is the speed, the precision, not opportunistic, practiced. The student resists. 1 second of resistance, then a sound, sharp, specific. The sound of a variable being permanently removed from a data set. The student is on the ground. The motorcycle is already beyond the gate. The crowd closes around the fallen student the way water closes around a dropped object. Someone shouts, someone calls, someone does nothing because doing nothing is the fastest available response to something you have no framework for. Your legs are already moving, not toward the student, away from the gate, away from the sound. You run for 11 seconds. Then you stop. You look back. The gate continues processing students in both directions. The system does not pause. Data keeps moving even when one of the data points has been permanently altered. The gate does not distinguish between the students it admits and the ones it watches. 4. You count your breaths. 11. Always 11. Then you walk through the gate. The caretaker is a man of indeterminate age. He could be 50. He could be older. He has the specific quality of someone who has been in one place for long enough that the place has begun to write itself into their biology, their movements, their expectations, their blink rate. He shows you to the lodge without speaking more than necessary. The lodge is called the Big Lodge by every student who has ever stayed in it. You understand why in the first 30 seconds. The rooms are the size of halls. The kitchen is larger than your family's sitting room. The corridors are wide enough that you can extend both arms without touching the walls. You count your steps from the entrance to your room. 47. You count them on the return. 47. This is not a student lodge. The geometry is wrong. Student lodges are built to maximum occupancy at minimum cost. Every dimension calculated toward efficiency. This building has been calculated toward something else. Something that requires more space than students need. something that uses the space between the walls for purposes that have nothing to do with accommodation. The caretaker stops at your door. Generator off at midnight. Water at 5 and 6. No guests after 10. His voice is flat. He has said these words many times. They have become data rather than language. Then he says one more thing. He says it to the corridor rather than to you. He says it as he's already moving away. Do not go to the east wing after midnight. You say, why? His footsteps do not pause. He does not turn around. He simply continues walking until the corridor swallows him. You put your bag on the bed. You sit down. You look at the room. The ceiling is very high, higher than it needs to be. You count the tiles. 32. You count them again. 32. You open your notebook. Top of the first page, you write 3 words. Document everything. Everything. This is not paranoia. This is methodology. You are a statistics student. Anomalies do not announce themselves. You have to build a data set first. Then you look for the pattern. Then you run the regression. Then you find out what the data has been trying to tell you all along. You close the notebook. You lie back on the bed. The ceiling tiles are 32. The corridor outside your door is quiet in the specific way that corridors are quiet when something is moving through them slowly enough that the sound has not reached you yet. At 11:47 p.m., the generator goes off. The darkness is immediate, total. The kind of darkness that reminds you that light is the variable you introduced into this environment. The darkness was here before you arrived, and it will be here after you leave. You are a temporary anomaly in a much longer data set. The window admits a thin line of light from somewhere outside. It falls across 3 of the 32 tiles, always 3. Then you hear it. Not a sound from outside, a sound from inside the lodge, from the direction the caretaker walked, from the east corridor. Not footsteps, something slower, more deliberate. The sound of a process running at reduced speed, like a system that has been waiting for the generator to go off, like something that operates specifically in the absence of electricity, specifically in the specific darkness of midnight in the big lodge. You count to 11 before you move. Then you reach for your notebook, your pen. You write the time. You write what you heard. You write that it stopped at 11:58 p.m. 11 minutes. Always 11. You write one question at the bottom of the page. What runs on the absence of power? You do not sleep. You lie on the bed with the notebook on your chest and your pen in your hand, and you wait for 3:47 a.m. with the specific patience of someone who has understood that waiting is now the primary variable. 3:47 a.m. arrives without announcement. Nothing happens. That is the worst thing that could happen, because you expected something. You positioned yourself for it. You had your notebook open, your pen ready. You had built a small barricade of preparedness between yourself and whatever 3:47 a.m. was supposed to deliver, and nothing came. And in the absence of the event you had prepared for, you are left with something worse than evidence. You are left with the question of whether you are generating anomalies where none exist. Whether the small font clause and the east wing and the ceiling tiles and the sound at 11:47 p.m. are all variables you have constructed from the raw material of your own anxiety. Whether you are the outlier, not because the system selected you, but because your own pattern recognition is corrupted. You write in the notebook, null result at 3:47 a.m. Either the anomaly is non-recurring or the observation effect has altered the event. continue monitoring. Do not assume absence of evidence is evidence of absence. You close the notebook, you close your eyes, you fall asleep as the first light begins outside the window. You do not dream, or rather, you do not remember dreaming. That is a different thing entirely. Here is what I know after the first night. I came to the institute with 178 points and a 3-point variance from an email address that does not resolve to any registered domain. I signed the document with a clause in small font that I almost missed. I watched someone fall at the gate and kept walking because the gate does not pause for individual data points. I was shown to a room in a lodge that is geometrically wrong. I heard something move in the east corridor at 11:47 p.m. after the generator went off. I wrote everything in a notebook. I waited for 3:47 a.m. and nothing came. The null result bothers me more than any of the other variables. In statistics, a null result does not mean nothing happened. It means either the event did not occur or you failed to detect it. Those are two very different conclusions, and you cannot tell them apart from the data alone. Something in this lodge is running a process I cannot see yet. The geometry is wrong. The caretaker gave one warning and then removed himself from the data set entirely. Somewhere in the documents I signed, there is a clause about passive continuous data collection that I agreed to at the bottom of the 4th page in a font 2 sizes too small. The notebook is the only variable in this environment that I fully control. It is my firewall, my only unintercepted channel. What do you think runs on the absence of power? Tell me in the comments. Tell me before the next night begins. Episode 2 drops next Friday, and the East Wing has a door. I have found its coordinates, and the door has no handle on the inside. The first thing statistics teaches you is that the data does not lie. The second thing it teaches you is that you can be completely wrong about what the data means. I signed the document. I crossed the gate. I slept in the lodge. And somewhere between those 3 events, something wrote itself into the data set of my life that I have not yet found the variable for. The notebook is under my pillow. The ceiling tiles are 32. The generator will go off again at midnight. And I am still counting.